Yeah, I'm Indigo. I'm organising full-time with Just Stop Oil, have been since the start, to get this thing over the line, like we've said. It's a completely winnable demand, and we're part of a network of 11 different countries who are all using similar tactics to us to get that win. You know, we're part of this network, and somewhere we're going to win. And I decided to give up my full-time job and to start full-time organising while I was living near Heathrow Airport. It's still the case that our government is green-lighting the demolition of a village, the complete destruction of lots of fields in order to make way for 700 new planes every single day. You know, this everyone has a case like this. Everyone knows of a parking lot or a field that they walk on, or part of the downs. Everyone knows a place like this that's going to be destroyed, and it's not just everyone here in this tent, it's everyone all over the world. And when we map these things all together, we're in a complete crisis, and we are being completely betrayed by those who are in power. We're in like a completely catastrophic situation, as Roger has laid out. I'm continuing to read the news. I think it's so important that we do, but it's just heartbreaking seeing thousands of dead fish washed up in Texas, seeing cars trapped in tunnels because of floods in Korea, seeing mudslides pouring homes down the road in Morocco. It's happening everywhere, and it's happening now. It's not something that's happening in the future. It's happening here, and it's happening now, and we have to do something about it. And I've been thinking a lot about how, when we're talking about this climate crisis, it seems so removed from the actors who are driving it, which is the governments, yeah? I don't think in the future we're going to be referring to this as a climate crisis or even a climate catastrophe. We're going to be naming it what it is, which is a man-made climate genocide. The governments know that their actions of signing off these new projects are going to cause the deaths of billions of people, and yet they do it anyway. And they know that this is going to lead to the destruction of particular groups of people, particular parts of the world, and yet they do it anyway. And it's because of this I am in civil resistance against this genocidal government. I'm in complete non-cooperation with everything they want me to do. Because when someone is that evil, you need to go into resistance. And many people say, you don't need to go into resistance. You could look to the courts, you could look to the law, you could go and seek justice. Well, just last week, I was sat in the Royal Courts of Justice, where a judge signed off on the fact that 2 of my friends will stay in prison to serve out their 3-year and 2-year 7-month sentence for taking part in an act of peaceful, non-violent civil disobedience, blocking a road to demand the simple end to new oil and gas. 3 years in the Royal Courts of Justice. And on that very same day, the court heard a case about whether it is lawful for the government to pursue over 100 new licences for fossil fuels in the UK. We're still awaiting that judgment. It's something Greenpeace have taken to the court. But I have no doubt that that Royal Court of Justice will think that it is lawful to pursue 100 new oil and gas licences in the middle of this climate emergency. So when we can't look to the courts of law, when we can see that the courts of law are complicit in this system and they are undermining the common good, they're undermining the health of our families, they're undermining our communities, they're undermining every single thing that we stand for, we will enter into civil disobedience against them. And the good news is that fucking tons of people have done this before. That's like why we're sat here. That's why I can vote as a woman. It's why we don't live in a segregated society. It's why there aren't slaves. I mean, I'm cycling around London organising this civil resistance movement, and I'm going past a laundry room that was burnt to the ground. I'm seeing, because of the suffragettes, I'm seeing pubs where they organised in. I'm seeing post boxes that were set on fire to destroy the mail of MPs sending things around Parliament. I literally stand on the shoulders of giants. That's what it means to be human, is to engage in that resistance with evil for the betterment not just of ourselves, not just of our families, not just of our communities, but all of humanity to come. And I've never felt more free, more in line with who I am and what I stand for than when I'm taking part in this movement. And people say that India, babe, you've got it all wrong. Like, this is fossil fuels. This isn't just like a vote for women. This is like, it's like global power systems. It's like all of the money that's kept up in it. And like, I mean, I've seen you stand in a car sometimes, like sit in a car, like, this is just too much. You're not going to be able to overwhelm a system so strong and so netted in. You should just feel overwhelmed and probably give up and go and get a job, But it's not true. We don't have to look very far at all to see that the systems of slavery that were overcome were also billions of pounds invested in it. It was also about the whole British Empire and global systems of power. And back then, people thought slaves were pretty fucking convenient. How disgusting is that? But people stand up against evil and they create change. Slaves themselves stood up against it and other people. And it's like, that's what you have to do when you're faced with an evil, even if it's masked at the moment, to the extent that most people in society don't believe that, their complicity. So I suppose what I want us to do is just to take a small moment and a small breath to realise that we are alive at this juncture in human history where we are capable of turning around this story. We have power within us when we come together as a collective, and we can decide whether we want to sacrifice things which mean that we find a way to save ourselves, or if we want to put the wool in our ears and hurtle on towards this story of collapse and extinction and starvation. So it was from this moment, it was from this feeling that we really had just a handful of years to do something about this, that Just Stop Oil originated. We sent a letter to the then Boris administration saying, we demand an end to the licensing, consents and development of oil, gas and coal within the UK. We weren't demanding that the petrol pumps stopped overnight. We were demanding an end to new oil and gas. And you know what? He wrote back, first letter I've ever got a response to from the Prime Minister, and he said, fossil fuels will continue to play an important role in meeting the UK's energy supply. They will continue to play an important role. And that was the moment that we embarked on this campaign of civil resistance. We went across universities across the country, tents exactly like this, community halls. We'll come and do a talk wherever you want, guys. And we organised for hundreds of people to go and block the oil terminals. Go to the source, we thought, go to the source. We blocked it at that pinch point, the gates where the oil leaves the depots in order to reach the terminals, to reach the petrol stations. And we caused 52% of the oil, the petrol and diesel 52% of the petrol and diesel pumps across the country ran dry. Just a couple of hundred of people. Imagine what would have happened if we had a couple of thousand. If every one of those people got 10 more, we would have caused a complete fuel crisis and brought the country to its knees and forced our government to concede to the demand. But the problem was we could only do this for so long. 2 weeks later, we had to come in and recalibrate, and we organised a campaign going into central London, to the heart of power, to the government. And day after day, every single day of October, we blocked the streets in small groups of small teams. You sit down on the road, You wait there, lots of traffic, you're arrested. At the same time, people like Phoebe here were taking part in actions of disrupting cultural events, throwing super paintings, jumping onto football pitches, and through this dynamo between this cultural disruption and the disruption of the roads, we were on the front pages everywhere. We were invited onto hundreds of interviews, and we were pushing this idea of no new oil to the top of every single public agenda. It was being spoken about in Parliament. It was being spoken about in boardrooms. It was being spoken about around your kitchen tables. And that's how you change the story, yeah? Fossil fuels are no longer something that's convenient and good for the economy. Fossil fuels are something that is killing our children, and it's killing people around the world now. And it just takes it just takes a handful of people to get organised and to say, this is the day we're going, let's go. Now, raise your hand if you are part of the actions, the 13 weeks of solid actions that we're taking part, that we were doing since April of this year. Right, give these people a round of applause. Look, there's only probably about 8 people there. And what they were doing, they woke up early, they marched slowly through the streets, bam, front pages, bam, 290 interviews, bam, being talked about by the Prime Minister all of the time while he's threatening to get every drop of oil out of the North Sea. Bam, hundreds of universities contacting our inbox saying, we want to hear from you, you're leading the conversation. Bam, we've got more people showing up to our talks than ever before. Bam, we've raised £1 million in the space of 5 days. This is how you do stuff. You just get going and then you just make it unstoppable. But we need all of you to come and join us too and slow march. So what are we doing next, basically? I suppose it's worth saying that at the end of this 13-week campaign, we stopped because Parliament broke. We still had many more people than ever before. I think there were 74 people who showed up to one of our non-violence trainings that last week of action. We could have kept going. We decided to wrap in at the same time that Parliament broke. And that's because we need to double the size of this movement in order to double our voice. We're coming back, and we're normally, as I've explained to you, we're doing something wildly different. We've gone from oil to sitting on the roads to cultural events to slow marching. This time, we had a real big amount of energy. We had hundreds of people who were continuing in that non-cooperation, and we were really controlling the story. So we're basically going to pick that thread up where we left off. We're going to continue slow marching through the streets of London, but this time we need 3,000 people to march with us. We need all of you to come and march. And when the police ask us to move, some people may move off the road. We respect those people too, but we're going to say no. We're going to say no. We are in non-compliance with this state. We will not go quietly. We will not stand on the pavement. We're going to continue slow marching here, as is our right. And there's going to be hundreds of people doing this across London every single day, week after week after week. Just marching. Yes, we live in a Britain now where it's nigh on illegal to strike. It's illegal to bring a boat across the channel. It's illegal to protest. But you have to break these laws because they are unjust. And when you do this, you're going to meet the most amazing community of people. We've now got 80 people who are offering up their homes for people to sleep in the night before action. There's one lady, 83-year-old lady, who for weeks on end had 8 people sleeping in her house and she's cooking for them. We had hundreds of people supporting outside probably not hundreds, we need more people, supporting outside the police stations to offer people a warm drink when they come out. We have a 24/7 press team who are making sure the top lines go out there and the top people to speak to slam this web of lies that keeps getting pushed on us from the right-wing media. So we need all of you to come and march with us. And how you're going to do this is you're going to speak in small groups in a moment. And then the main thing we want you to do, and this isn't going to sign you up to doing anything, is to come to a non-violence training. Hear about this great history of non-violence that we have all our rights from, and learn about how to put that into action. It's a 4-hour training, and they're happening all over the country over the next couple of weeks. So come to a training. And there's even going to be one on tomorrow, 12 till 4, by the Just Stop Oil tent in the Radical flank. And then if you've done that and you're up for it, sign up to Slow March with us. And the other ask is donate. Everyone in Just Stop Oil donates. We donate 1 hour's wage every month. So if you earn a tenner an hour, donate a tenner a month. If you earn 50 quid an hour, donate 50 quid a month. And that's what keeps us going. That's what hires the church halls. That's what feeds our rebels after they've been marching out in the morning. That's what, powers the Zoom subscription to allow us to have 1,000 people attend on one call. So please donate and know that you are part of the movement doing that. And of course, you can also volunteer your time. So there's loads of roles with volunteering. There's lots about mobilising with us, handing out leaflets, putting on talks exactly like this. And there's also other ways in which you can volunteer in Action Period. So these are the dates that we're starting marching. If you're in the region east of England and Midlands, 29th of October, we're going to start marching. If you're in region southeast, north, southwest, the 5th of November, we'll be marching. If you're in a student group or London, the 12th of November, you'll start marching. That's how we keep it going, day after day after day, week after week after week. It's rotas. It's as simple as a bloody timetable. And we're very confident we're going to get up to this mark, 3,000 arrests, 300 people who are willing to go to prison for their actions. And we know that at this number, we will overwhelm the police. We will see them crack. They'll be letting people out without charge. And at this 300 people in prison, we'll start to see the judiciary crack too. They are on their knees. They're putting cases in for 2025 at the moment. The whole thing is, it looks like it's a system, it looks like it's complete, but honestly, you only need to go into the NHS system, you only need to go into the judicial system facing court, you only need to see some of the state of our schools, and you can see that it's very, very fragile at the moment. Please find that strength within yourself, and please join our community of non-violent civil resistance to get our government to just stop oil in 2023.